Eamonn Holmes is currently at war with Phillip Schofield after the former This Morning host was dropped by his management Eamonn from ITV after he confessed to having an affair with a young showrunner on This Morning. In what has been a disastrous 2 weeks for Phillip, 61, the fallen TV presenter has stepped down from hosting This Morning after 21 years amid ongoing reports of a bitter feud between himself and Holly Willoughby. Following his confession about having an affair with a much younger male while he was still married, things have gotten much worse for Phillip as a handful of his former ITV colleagues, including Eamonn Holmes, have blasted him as rude and narcissistic as they continue to expose the behind-the-scenes toxicity that they claim Phillip brought to the ITV set. In particular, Eamonn, 63, has been incredibly vocal about his issues with Phillip, revealing that he and the fallen TV presenter have been feuding for years on end, although Eamonn put aside their spat, supporting Phillip on This Morning when he came out as gay in 2020. Here, we take a look at how the feud first started, and everything that has been said since. Phillip cuts off Ruth before Loose Women airs back in April 2019. Phillip left Ruth Langsford furious when he cut her off as This Morning was handing over to Loose Women for a preview of panel topics that day. While introducing the episode's topics, Phillip cut Ruth off, stating, "Guys, we're going to have to jump in there and stop you, I'm afraid, because we're a bit tight for time at this end. Thank you, Ruth." At the time, Ruth looked visibly annoyed as she threw her hands in the air and looked across to her fellow panelists to see their reaction. "Well, I only had about 2 more words to say," she fired back at Phillip. Following the awkward moment, it was reported that Ruth made a complaint to ITV about Phillip's rudeness and the toxicity that she claimed he brought to ITV. And in Eamonn's recent bombshell interview with GB News, the former This Morning presenter shed light on Ruth's complaint, explaining that she had had enough of Phillip's rude behavior, and him cutting her off was the straw that broke the camel's back. It was about his rudeness. This nonsense, he has said in his statement, denying the toxicity at ITV and saying that ITV and This Morning is a happy place. Holy God, what planet does this man live on? He created an atmosphere where people hated him. People would avoid him in the corridor. He was so rude to the Loose Women and he was so dismissive. We always had to do this handover between programs from This Morning and Loose Women about what was coming on next. The Loose Women always felt very demeaned by the whole thing because he was always so rude to them, he said in the explosive interview. Eamonn and Ruth support Phil as he comes out as gay in February 2020. Phillip shocked the nation when he came out as gay on This Morning. Despite ongoing rumors of tension between Phil on one side and Eamonn and Ruth on the other, the couple appeared alongside Phillip on the famous This Morning couch in support of his brave decision to reveal his sexuality on live television. At the time, Phillip and Eamonn appeared to put their differences aside, with Eamonn praising the TV presenter and labeling him as an inspiration to many. "It's fantastic. So many people will be strengthened by this. We'll be standing beside you," Eamonn said at the time. Phillip also thanked Eamonn for his unwavering support in a gushing tribute on Twitter. "Can I just say that at Eamonn Holmes and at Ruthie Eel were utterly magnificent with me today, privately downstairs just the 3 of us and upstairs in front of the world," he penned. "Vertical bar, I couldn't have hoped for a better, calming and loving set of hugs and support. I adore them both. And for the record, at Eamonn Holmes made me laugh. He lightened a very emotional moment and I'm very happy that he did." However, following Phil's affair confession, Eamonn has blasted the memorable This Morning segment as a lie, as he claims that both he and Ruth were deceived by Phillip and ITV, who he also claims covered up the affair. In a series of furious tweets last week, Eamonn raged, "Ruth and I were deceived and lied to. One day I will tell the story. We had no issue with him being gay, only support. What transpired took us for fools. The man told us complete lies and we unfortunately believed him." Eamonn and Ruth forced off This Morning in November 2020, just 9 months after Eamonn and Ruth publicly supported Phillip. It was revealed that the couple are leaving This Morning in a major shake-up by ITV bosses. Then, just 2 months later, Eamonn was sensationally dropped from This Morning after a 14-year reign on the ITV show alongside his wife, Ruth. While Ruth still had her post on the Loose Women panel, Eamonn, 63, was left high and dry by ITV bosses when they decided the show needed a major shake-up with 2 brand new presenters. However, their time on the show came to an abrupt when they were replaced by Alison Hammond and Dermot O'Leary. The husband and wife duo, who presented the Friday show together since 2006, were said to be furious and upset over the move. Eamonn is pretty furious and everyone feels for him and Ruth. They are well liked on the team, but sometimes tough decisions have to be made, an insider said at the time. Before his exit, Eamonn had confided that he feared being too pale, stale and male for the award-winning ITV show, which had drawn criticism for not having enough diversity among the presenters. The Northern Irish star had also left bosses fuming in 2019 when he was rapped by Ofcom for ill-judged comments regarding the conspiracy theories surrounding 5G masts spreading coronavirus. The watchdog said his remarks, in which he said that mainstream media should not automatically slap down such claims, risked undermining viewers' trust in advice from public authorities and scientific evidence. In January 2022, Eamonn joined GB News while Ruth stayed at ITV. After he left, it was claimed that Phil didn't reach out to Eamonn to see how he was doing. Lifting the lid on Phil's radio silence, a source claimed that although the pair never saw eye to eye, his lack of contact had come as quite a surprise given the fact he and Eamonn worked alongside one another for so many years. The insider revealed, "It's been quite publicized that he and Phillip didn't really see eye to eye. Phillip hasn't contacted Eamonn since leaving This Morning, which is a bit of a shame. Eamonn felt like Phillip didn't really like him," they told OK! magazine. Eamonn launches attack on Phillip in February 2022, 1 year after he was dropped by This Morning. Eamonn launched his first public attack on Phillip during a segment on GB News. At the time, Eamonn hit out at Phillip, calling him passive-aggressive and accused him of snubbing people at ITV. Speaking about Phil's rumored drift with his wife Ruth, Eamonn later said, "It's up to Ruth to say how she felt, but I was feeling hurt for her." Eamonn also liked a tweet which branded This Morning's tribute to Phillip's 40th work anniversary as bizarre. Q-Gate. In September 2022, Eamonn became increasingly vocal about his issues with both Phillip Schofield and Holly Willoughby when they were blasted for Q-jumping the public while filming a segment for This Morning about the late Queen Elizabeth II lying in state. Fury ensued when news broke that the This Morning duo had not queued to see the late Queen, while other huge celebrities including David Beckham lined up for hours on end in the cold alongside members of the public. Holly and Phil denied jumping ahead, insisting that they had respected the rules set for the media, but Eamonn insisted they were lying and called them both arrogant. On GB News, Eamonn said, "I'll tell you what's strategic. Why is Holly fighting to keep her job but Mr. Phillip isn't?" Presenter Claire Muldoon replied, "Who knows?" Twitter, last night, was saying she didn't want to vacate her job at This Morning. To which Eamonn added, "Who wouldn't want to give up £600,000 a year and everything else that comes with it? I think the brand is very damaged. There has to be a change from the top down to the bottom on This Morning. They didn't get a fast track, they say. Lie. They say they didn't pay their respects to the body. Lie. What else were they there for? Let's just tell the truth about the whole thing. They messed up, and instead of being arrogant and saying, 'We were there working as journalists,' why don't they just say, 'Yeah, we thought it would be a good idea'?" Eamonn blasts Holly and Phil's fake friendship earlier this month. Before his resignation from ITV as a whole, Phillip responded to yet another claim of a fallout with Holly. The presenter said in a statement to The Sun that, "While the last few weeks haven't been easy for either of us, Holly has continued to be his rock and best friend." However, after releasing his statement to the press, Holly was said to have been left deeply hurt and blindsided by Phillip's decision to speak to the publication behind her back. After Phil's statement, Eamonn said that both he and Holly deserved a special award for Best Actors at the BAFTA TV Awards. On GB News, he said, "The public surely will suss that Terry's no chemistry, that it's a broken fit between the two of them and that This Morning does not depend on who presents it." Eamonn claims Phil was sacked from ITV after Phillip announced his departure from This Morning amid burning rumours of a feud between himself and Holly, and the growing tensions around his brother, Timothy Schofield's sex abuse case. Phillip said that he was stepping away from the show with immediate effect. In response, Eamonn hit back at Phillip's statement, insisting that the This Morning presenter was sacked from the show and that he didn't just step away. Eamonn slammed Phillip's exit statement as nonsense when he said on GB News, "Let's just stop this. He was sacked. All this nonsense about giving him I've decided to step down. I'm sure you did, I'm sure you did. Here's your P45, now step down." ITV responded to Eamonn's comments with a statement which said, Phillip Schofield's decision to step down from This Morning was, as his statement made clear, a decision agreed between Phillip and ITV. Eamonn exposes Phillip once and for all. Just 6 days after he announced his departure from This Morning, Phillip came clean about an affair he was having with a much younger male member of ITV staff. After the news broke, Eamonn took to Twitter to further expose Phillip, claiming that several of his colleagues knew about the affair, which occurred while Phillip was still married. Eamonn went on to claim that ITV bosses covered up the affair. Schofield has finally been caught out. But he's not the only guilty party. 4 high members of ITV management knew what sort of man he was, and never once took action to prevent him controlling or taking advantage of his position over young people, he wrote on Twitter. GB News tell-all Eamonn Holmes made several bombshell claims about Phillip Schofield and ITV in a no-holds-barred interview last night. The GB News host, 61, said he was speaking out for those who had no voice following the news his former colleague had embarked on an affair with a young runner on This Morning. Eamonn, who used to present the daytime show with his wife Ruth Langsford, didn't hold back in the bombshell chat with Dan Wootton. who at times looked as shocked as the rest of us at home watching. During the chat, he claimed that Philip's ex-lover was driven from his London home in cars paid for by ITV, and made further claims about a cover-up about the affair by ITV. The Mirror has contacted Philip's representatives and an ITV spokesperson for comment.